Hey, welcome to the 17 Laws Studio. Today, we're all about finances. Your finances, what about your kids' college, all these things. And the reason I want to do that is because you are starting to send me questions and emails, and I can't possibly answer them all. Just sit down. So I've decided I'm going to start collecting them with certain topics, and then take those topics and put those in my next podcast. Right now, the what I'm working on is we're going to talk about today is I'm going to answer some questions about finances. I don't claim to be the guru. I'm just going to share with you from my experience and all the couples I've chatted with and the families that I'm involved with. So take that however you may. But I think I've got some pretty good ideas that'll help you. You may not like them. That's okay. It won't hurt my feelings. Before we get started, I would like to say, hey, I'm trying to get over 100,000 followers on YouTube, so I would appreciate your support if you just pause a moment, click down there, get my follow me. That would mean the world to me. So I appreciate that. I'm gonna make these future ones a little future podcasts a little and videos a little less formal. And if you do have questions, Russ at the17laws.com. I'll get to your questions. I may respond individually. I may send you a link to one of the videos that answers your question. But anyway, keep them coming. Appreciate your comments too. It's okay if you like what I'm doing. Man, shoot me an email. That's great. I always love to hear feedback. But I want to jump right in and I want to answer your questions. These are real questions that I've received, so I appreciate this. Here's one, and well, the reason I'm saying this is a little more informal is because I just gathered these questions, put them in a category, and I'm reading them really close for the first time with you. My wife and I have been working extra jobs paying to get our credit cards paid off and save for a vacation. How much should we have in credit card debt before we actually commit to a vacation? That's a good question. What really helps me is if you send me a question, give me all the details you can possibly. You're not going to bore me to death. I'm not going to say your name on the video, so you don't have to worry about that. So, in this particular case, we're trying to pay off our credit cards. I don't know what that means. I've seen people with $100,000 in credit card debt and people with maybe $10,000 or $15,000 in or nominal credit card debt, but it just felt like they may just feel like they had a ton of credit card debt and they don't, but they really don't. So having said that, I'm going to make an assumption. Let's just say they owe 25,000 and they've paid it down to 15,000. Well, in my opinion, the day you go on vacation is when you have zero credit card debt, and that's when you have the cash to pay for the vacation. So, for example, if you have credit card debt and you don't have the money to pay it off, chances are what they're saying is, can I put this vacation on my credit cards as well? And the answer is no. Now, here's the thing about vacation. People say take a vacation, go on a vacation. I can tell you from our family, we've been broke, and we've taken time off and stayed at home. And I promise you, your kids will have just as much fun as our kids had. When we talk to our kids, some of the best memories they've had in our whole time has been some of the cheapest things we've done. Now, when we've taken some expensive vacations, seemingly expensive, and I don't think they had any more fun than the other vacations. So I would take that pressure off to feel like, oh, that's a thing. Now here's something overall with vacations. You're at Sunday school, you're at a party, you're whatever, and that question comes up and says, where are you going on vacation? And this guy says, well, we're going to Europe for a week. And somebody else says, oh, we're going to take the kids down to Disney again this year, maybe take a Disney cruise, or and so there's that pressure to do something that's going to harm your family, and that is spend money that you don't need to spend. All that to say, really, don't go on vacation until you have zero credit card debt. It's not worth it. And at the end of the vacation, So you go on a Saturday, you come back on a Saturday. When you come back from Saturday, that next Saturday, it's over. You have memories. That's great, but you can make memories at home. I'll do another podcast about that. Or a video sometime in the future about that. I've got some really great ideas. I can tell you a bunch of families. It's not goofy or weird or anything. I mean, it's actually true, fun things that we've done as a family, and I can tell you a lot of other families have done, because when our kids were little, we were broke. We couldn't do a whole bunch of things, and we had lots of friends that could do a bunch of things. But I learned, if you've ever been broke, you never want to be there again. And so we decided, you know what, we're not willing to spend money we don't have. So anyway, especially for a vacation, when we could stay at home and have just as much fun and have a lot of creativity there. More on that later. So I want to ask this next question. If you have comments on that too, if you disagree, whatever, shoot them to me. I'm okay. I'm okay with it. How much money do we need for savings as a couple with 3 kids? Oh, see, I like this question because they're giving me more details. We owe about 20,000 on personal loans, and we have 2 cars that we owe about $25,000. I don't know if that's 25,000 on one car and 25,000 on the other. I don't know. I work 2 jobs, and my wife teaches. We make about $100,000 a year, and we still can't seem to make ends meet. Currently, we have about $5,000 in cash available to us right now. I assume that's what they mean for their emergency fund or something like that. So how much do we need in savings with a couple with 3 kids? Well, I know there's a lot of smart people out there, like Dave Ramsey would say, 4 to 6 months or something like that of living expenses. And I agree with that, 4 to 6 months. And why is that? Some people live on the edge, or they live paycheck. Most people do live paycheck to paycheck. But if you can ever get away from that, and here's the thing, they're making $100,000 a year. I know people who make less than half that, and they still save money every month. So it is possible. So they're working an extra job, that sort of thing, and they feel like they've got an income problem, but there's also that spending problem. For example, $20,000 on personal loans. Well, I would attack that like crazy. I would. What chances are, when you say personal loan, it's credit cards, things like that. It's usually the highest interest rate. And let's say you got $20,000 and you're spending $500 a month in interest. I'm just guessing. I don't know what it is. That means, or $400 a month in interest. That means every Friday you're giving away $100. Next Friday another 100. Next Friday another 100. You want to get that knocked out as quickly as possible. I applaud these people for having. He works 2 jobs. What I don't know is their house payment. I look at they owe 25,000 in cars. If they owe 25,000 and they have one decent car, okay, $100,000 a year. But if they owe 25,000 on the other car, I'm gonna suggest sell it. In today's market, that shouldn't be a problem. Take that and buy just a cheap car to run to work and back. And there's a decent chance with the way today's world is, one of them might be working at home anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. But you really need to have 4 to 6 months. So in this particular case, you've got 5,000 in cash. I would try to build that over the next 4, 5, 6 months to get to 4 to 6 months. But at the same time, you gotta get that $20,000 in personal loans knocked out. Applaud you for doing the extra job to get there. The other thing you can do is, again, make sure that if you said 25,000 on cars, and I don't know if that's each, but if one of them, for like if you have 25,000 on a car and your payment's $400 a month, get rid of that. Use that $400 to knock down that 20,000 and get that taken care of. Now, I don't know what you make on your 2 jobs. I don't know what that really means. If you have a job you work 40 hours a week, and you have another one you work $5 an hour for, or $10 an hour, whatever, for 2 hours a week. But it would be worth maximizing a good year, and you should be able to get that knocked out. And you're making 100,000, you're bringing home 75-ish. So 6,000, a little over $6,000 a month. I don't know what your house payment is. If your house payment's more than 1,500, $2,000 or so, you might think about does that make sense? But if you're taking home 6,000, maybe 1,000 for insurance, 1,000 for gas and utilities, 1,000, and keep working that down, you should be able to knock that out, that debt out by the end of this year potentially, and you should be able, maybe first of next year, and you should be able to save a little money by then. So I hope that helps on that. And thank you for sending the details out. I love the details. Now I will go to the next question here if I can find my questions. Should we buy our 16-year-old a new car? He's a good kid, makes good grades. Man, that's a beautiful question. No. What if you're filthy stinking rich? No. A 16-year-old cannot handle a brand new car, even if you're filthy stinking rich. Not a good idea. Most people are not filthy stinking rich. And sometimes people say, I want to get a new car. They don't literally mean a new car. They say a used car. Yes, definitely a pre-owned car. Now, what dollar amount should you get? Well, some of it depends on your financial situation. Would I ever recommend you going in debt for your 16-year-old a car? Absolutely not. Never. Now, if you want to give him your car and you don't have any car loans and y'all really do need another nicer car, and financially you can't really pay cash for it, but you really have to have a dependable car because your situation, maybe you get the nicer car, but we're not going to go in debt for a 16-year-old a car ever going to do that. But what I would do, you said good kid makes good grades. That's a good thing. That makes it easier for me to say, yes, I'm going to try to get him as nice a car as we possibly can. I'm going to try to help. But here's something I would suggest. Let the kid participate in that financially. Like whatever he can pay. Maybe it's half or all of it, or pay 500, whatever it is. If you're going to buy, we like with our kid. We when our oldest was turned 16, we didn't have anything. We had somebody pass away in the family, and there was a car sitting there, and they said, "Here, I want you to let her drive this." So that's kind of how that started. And then our latest one to turn 16, he actually participated quite a bit for his truck. Participated by the dollar. I mean, he saved for a long time because he knew what he wanted since day one. Because his brother had the same truck, so he wanted the same thing as brother. So that's kind of how we did. So they did participate. But what we also have done is that not only did they participate, they had to make good grades, good decisions, surround themselves with good friends, and no attitude. You know, if I've got a child that's got a crazy attitude and won't talk to me and is just complete jerk, and like you hear people say, oh, you got that teenager attitude. No car. They're going to be respectful, because if they're not going to be respectful to me, the parent, what do you think they're going to respect a car? Do you think they're going to respect other drivers on the road? Do you think they're going to respect anybody else, the law? I'm assuming if they don't respect me, the parent, they're probably not going to respect anybody else. Now, that may not be the case in your case, but if they are not respectful, they're not getting the car. If they make poor grades, that's going to be tough to let them have a nice car as well. Now, when I turned 16, my car was a junker. My parents couldn't afford much. We got what we could afford. I participated. Loved the car. Everything. Did I have friends with really, really, really nice cars? Yeah. Did I have friends with cars as bad as mine? Yes. It all worked out. I am not going to put my family in debt. Let's just suppose that, like you're a two-parent family and there's three kids and one of them finally turns 16. Am I going to put the rest of the family in financial mess just so this kid can have a nice car for his ego? Not in a million years. Hope that helps. Next question. What's the biggest waste of money you see families do? Wow. That is a loaded question. I see what I'm just talking about. People buy vehicles they can't afford. I know you hear some financial people say you should never go in debt for a car. That's not realistic for every family out there. It is just not realistic. I get that. But you don't have to buy $100,000 car. You can buy a really nice car for a certain dollar amount that you can afford. Not every car you drive has to have heated and cooled seats and a sunroof. if you can't really afford it. So that's what I see some people do, and the reason they do it is because they're in a circle of friends. And I forgot who said it. We refer to them as the affluent poor. It's the people that they look like they have wealth, but they have no money. So they're driving around in these really nice cars, living in these really nice houses, and everybody thinks they're well, and that just puts the pressure on somebody else to try to do the same, and they're all driving around and they're all broke. And you don't want to put your family in that position. That's one on the vehicles. Do I encourage people to get nice vehicles? Of course, whatever you think you can afford. You want to be safe. You don't want to drive around in something where it's really not safe. So, is it worth a little extra money for your safety? Of course, it is. So there's something. Be sensible. Get you the car that you need, but don't get the car to so you look good in the driveway with all the other seemingly wealthy people. Other thing I see people waste a ton of money on, and that is on their kids, trying to keep them happy. So, okay, my kid really wants to play baseball. My kid really also in the fall wants to play football. And then he wants to roll into basketball. And then we have travel ball in the summer, which means that you're going for 10 weekends out of the summer, we're going to travel to this city, this city, this city. And every time it's 2 or 3 nights hotel room. And every weekend it's eating out. And it's another maybe $10,000 or $15,000 a year, because it's for the kids. But if you're putting your family in a financial bind and doing that, I don't agree with that. Perfect. Your kid can grow up and not do travel ball and be okay. I assure you that just because his two best friends are playing travel ball doesn't mean that he has to. He or she, they're gonna be okay, because the stress that it puts on your family financially just isn't worth that kid being happy for a weekend or a couple of games, that sort of thing. Not to mention the fact that it's pulling your family apart. I don't mean that like ripping your family apart. I mean that it means that part of the family is gone on the weekends and the other family's back going to doing something else all the time or having to work to pay for it. And so it's just more weekends throughout the year where you're not together. Am I for that? Yes. Did we do some travel ball? Yes. Did we do sports year round? No. We said, okay, you can pick 1 or 2 sports. Most of the time it was one, and we're going to excel in that. And we're going to do some travel ball, yes, but we're going to do it as a family. And not everybody picked sports. One picked ballet, which it wasn't just like the cutesy little girl in fun. It was professional level, and we did some traveling and had some big events, and there were a lot of commitments to that as well. But this is probably not the ideal place to put this, but I'm going to back up though, because I don't want to get this out of context for you, and that is, uh, even though we had ballet, basketball, soccer, football, we had all these things going on in our life, not to mention work and community events and church stuff and all that. But we also, every week, we planned a family night, and we guarded family night with our lives. We put it on the calendar, and we said, okay, this night, let's say Friday night's family night. Then somebody said, oh, but no, family night. And so there was travel ball, there were these things, but we still figured out a way as a family every week that we're going to get together. Nothing fancy. Sometimes it's movie and grilling out or playing games, whatever. Sometimes we go hiking, swimming, whatever. But whatever we did, and we may not spend any extra money, but whatever we did it as a family. And so even if you pick ballet, basketball, soccer, volleyball, whatever it is you're going to do, and you can afford it, and it's not a financial thing, but this is all about finances. If you can do all that sort of stuff, you still don't lose sight of the fact of the family aspect of it. So when we got together as a family, you could interview all our children right now, and they would all tell you some of the most special moments they had that they never ever ever regretted was having a family night. So I hope that helps. But those are two big wastes of money. Going out to eat. two problems I have with going out to eat. One, chances are it's because you're going to baseball, basketball, things like that, and it's a drive-through and it's not very healthy. Kids with a good metabolism seem to fare okay. But I know it's kind of expensive, but mom and dad, like my metabolism's not like a 4-year-old, and so next thing you know it, I'm going through a drive-through, which I've done. We've done the drive-through thing way too many times, and next thing you know it, I've gained 20 pounds, and I thought, okay, oh my goodness, I've got to figure out a different way. I'm spending way too much money. I'm getting fat and unhealthy at the same time. So we had to figure that out with us, but that was spending a lot of money too. The last thing I would say on the biggest waste of money is family, to answer that question, are expensive vacations where people, and I talked about this earlier on, I know, but people feel like they're doing their children a disservice if they don't have some super expensive vacation. Like, oh, for another 4,000, I can have the house on the beach. Well, for save your 4,000 and you can walk across the street. That kind of thinking. Well, it doesn't have to be a Disney cruise, which I've never been on one. We have friends that love them. They say they're the best cruises ever. But there's also cruises that are cheaper than that. And when the kids are going to be doing kid things anyway, they don't. It's if you can afford Disney, by all means. But if you can't afford Disney, don't do Disney. Do what you can afford. Is mine. So anyway, next one. This is the last question I'll do today. And that is, who's responsible for my kids' college debt? Beautiful question. I probably got a lot of these this time of year because obviously school is starting up. And no, I have no idea when you're watching this, but it happens to be in the fall, about the time college started up. We have a kid who started last week, so this is near and dear to my heart. Who pays for college? Um, Ultimately, I believe that this is the responsibility of your child. And let me share with you why. One, they're younger and they have their whole year to pay for the college. The whole year. They have their whole life to pay for college. So that the capacity for and if you have several kids, the exact same thing. And if you can't afford to send them to college, which then they have to figure out a way to make that happen. Would I agree with student loans? Probably not. Are most places in the world, can you go to community college for 2 years free? Yes, you can. Most places. I would recommend that. Oh, but I want my kids to have the 4-year college experience. I'm for that. I want my kids to have the 4-year college, depending on the college and all that stuff. And I know there's crazy things that go on there, but I'm not debating right now, should your kid go to college? The question is, who pays for it? So, but if you can't afford 4 years, then do the 2 years free. Do the 2 years that are free. You can also encourage your kids in high school to get some of the AP credits and dual enrollment. Some depend on your school. A lot of times, there's not any extra cost involved, and you can get almost a year, sometimes 2 years of your college done in high school. So when they do get to the third and fourth year, it's a whole lot cheaper. There's nothing wrong with going to a state school. We've had a couple of kids go to private school, a couple of kids go to state school. Obviously, the private schools are ridiculously expensive. So don't do something you can't afford. Now, let me share with you some things that I've seen, and we have friends that have done this. Number one, like we have good friends of ours. They say, you pay half, we're going to pay half. You pick the college, then we'll pay half. You pay the other half. That's kind of how they've done. So a lot of those kids picked a cheap college because they knew they were paying the other half. I've had friends who said, okay, I've saved $20,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is. This is your college. Use it however you want. Not use it however you want, like you can go buy a car with it or go to Europe on a hiking trip with it. No, it has to. The checks written out of this account are going to a college, or you don't get the money. It's that this is it. So you pick the college. It could either cover all your college, or it could cover 2 years, 3 years, but put that onus on the child on which one. So I've seen that happen. And I don't know which one's right. The right thing is don't do something you can't afford just because, oh, I think they'll be happy. There's a lot of happy kids that don't go to college. There's a lot of happy kids go to a state school. A lot of happy kids that go to junior college or whatever you call it in your world. So don't do something you can't afford. So here's some things that we've done. One of mine, one of the things we said, hey, if you'll do everything you can to do as well as you can on ACT, and that's our world is an ACT, your world may be SAT, and you make good decisions, you do everything to get every scholarship humanly possible, then our commitment is, and you're making good decision with friends, you got a good attitude. There's more to it than this, but that's just in general. You're going to be a pretty dang good kid making good decisions, and we want you to graduate undergrad debt free. So we have one child that knocked it out of the park on ACT, so that commitment was, very nominal. I think the first year we wrote a check for $25. Now she went on to grad school and lots of letters by her name kind of thing. So that's good. That's good. But we're just the undergrad people. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying I'm giving you all these ideas that we've done. And then the next, we've had one that played sports, and that helped offset a little bit of it. A couple of them have one in the went in the National Guard, and help offset that. So there's just all kinds of things that whatever works out for you, do it. You do that as long as you can afford it. Do not put your family in a bind for your kid to go to college. Now, it would probably be really good to have a whole video on should your child go to college. But I don't want to bore you to tears with that now. I think I might, in fact, I'll put myself a note right here to do that. So be looking for that in the near future. I hope this helps. This is actually a lot of fun for me. I love getting questions, and you can take these for that I've experienced, my experience with friends and family and hundreds of couples, that sort of thing. And the main thing as a family is you don't want to put yourself in a bind. You don't want to go buy things you can't afford. It's just not worth it. The financial stress it puts on a marriage is not worth a brand new fill in the blank. All right, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you. Really, like I said at the beginning, a little bit of favor time. I'm trying to get over 100,000 followers on YouTube. Please follow me on YouTube. I would appreciate that. And Russ at the 17laws.com. Shoot me those questions.